many conversations of people, most conversations between anyone don't make sense. You see, like this interview tonight, this meeting of 10 people, 8, whatever. People are somewhere else in their own consciousness, on their own level of consciousness, in their own sphere of consciousness. They cannot reach each other. In the best case, they show where they are, their particular form of consciousness, but people cannot reach each other. I never see people reaching each other. I never see you, in all these years, watching interviews or discussions especially, never saw somebody suddenly opening up, that's a good point you make there. I didn't think about this. Or it's always people have the positions already. And they're just fighting from different spheres. Although I must say that some people by nature are more open. They also can listen better to others. And the ones in power are afraid of the people who can listen. They're dangerous for them. If you can listen, you can also speak the truth. They prefer people who react, who don't let things go deeply through them. They're easily manipulable. No. Usually. That's what the cyborgs want, people to become robots. That's the best to manipulate, to do exactly what they want. People are just bothersome, uncontrollable. It shouldn't be like this, I think. I will tell you, everybody wants to listen. The dark force is constantly and everywhere active here on Earth. All the time. It's not only now and then when some scandal shows up or some bad case like might be true that we talked about. It's all the time active. And we don't pay attention to it. It seems too hard to bear. Too much, too heavy, too deep, too dangerous, too uncomfortable. Too unpractical. But sooner or later it gets you. If you don't recognize it. You can only be free from the dark force if you see it. If you don't see it, it gets you. And you become its slave. In the dark. It's one or the other. Or you are free beyond the dark force, or you are its slave. The people who escape into spirituality think they're not a slave of the dark force. Forget it. Only they turn away their consciousness from something else. So their half consciousness assumes it's not a slave. It doesn't know what the other half is doing. Then the other half of the people who are locked up in the dark spheres, they're also slaves, also of the dark. If they don't allow the light in, if they don't allow consciousness in. So only if you see both of them at the same time, you're not a slave. This, of course, relating to the explosion I had for this darkness and light. They exploded into one another. Only then you're free. If you have both, allow them both, and they start to alternate so quickly that in the end you don't distinguish anymore between them. Your present is dark, light, light, dark. But for that you must go deeply into the painful side of the coin of life. Then there's some beauty manifests in you. Tuning into this dark force, and immediately I feel some kind of almost a line of, I want to call it energy, but maybe I should say line of death going to the heart, suffocating you, really. I feel it so often. Every day. It's not surprising here in the house. They throw out some energetic line to your heart to suck it. It goes very quick. Can you feel that line? The line of death. Ha! God. God. Life is one big struggle to get back into the body. To not be kicked out too far. The devil wants to take your place. You want to deafen the heart of people so they cannot resist the devil anymore. Cannot detect it anymore because they're dulled, deafened, if not deadened. So one strategy of the dark force is to not just simply kill people like people think nowadays. It can also be one strategy. But to seriously weaken people is already a big step for them, or if not enough already. That they cannot oppose anymore the detection of the dark force. Because that is the biggest nightmare, greatest nightmare that is detected. Of course, they would crumble down to ashes, like Dracula.
Yeah.
So it's all the time busy with hiding, not being detected, all the time spreading lies, constantly faking, pretending, putting blame on others, making others black, making people afraid, to distract them from what's really going on. It has been done for ages and ages by the churches, for example. The fight on earth between the dark and the light, the unconsciousness and the consciousness, freedom and slavery. Heaven and hell. caught in between. I see such a darkness in people. These normal people, supposedly normal people. In this talk show that I saw tonight. First talk show I saw in 15 years or something. Except for fragments. These people are gone. They're really not here. There's no one. Some dark force speaking through them, and they have no idea. And unfortunately, the viewers have also no idea. They think there are normal people sitting there doing their normal talk. But if you have a deeper look, if your consciousness is activated, then you see something else. As I said before, I see skeletons talking. Literally, I saw it when I saw this. For example, this professor in law. I didn't like him at all. He just speaks as a system. From a dead perspective. Non-human. Defending the separativeness. Unless people are so happy with the current separation between people. This is sick, that cannot be human. There's something else saying they're speaking through them. If you talk about love, they don't know what to say because they don't know what you're talking about. They only know about system. System and love cannot go together. Any system. Some people have gone beyond confusion. They have become the dark force itself. The slaves of it, and they won't change anymore this lifetime. They invested too much in it. If people like that cannot be reached anymore, they have to be stopped. Or to make other people's life also into a hell. If people stand up against this big separated force, like the rioters, then the dead people stand up en masse to speak shame of the rioters. How bad people they are. I should be punished. How can they do this? Inhuman. Is it really inhuman if you don't accept to be killed, to be deadened, to be locked down, and you protest against being repressed, taking away your freedom, having to wear mouth caps, face masks, etc., etc. Cannot meet your friends. The shop is being closed down. And then you protest, and they all en masse stand up against you. What a betrayer you are. If you show some remainder of humanness. This is fucking sick. I'm sick to the bone from this. This fucking lie, this fucking inversion. Everything here on earth is reversed. The truth has become a lie and the lie has become truth. The whole system is one big fucking lie. These fuckers enjoy it so much to control people. They're totally dead themselves, so what pleasure do they have left? To bug other people, to control them, to torture them, and sometimes even to kill them. But now these people stop the whole show and try to be happy themselves. But no, they know they lost the game called life. So they can only still bug other people. Try to torture other people. Like they feel tortured themselves. This is the dark force doing this. Instead of crying their pain out, instead of asking for mercy, instead of confessing, instead of surrendering, acknowledging their pain, the slavery of the dark force, what they do is project it on other people and get them also into trouble. That's why you can say this dark force is contaminating.
Yeah.
That's what's happened nowadays. It always happened, of course, but you can see it so clearly nowadays. The contaminating dark force. If you don't recognize it, it gets into you. Stand guard. Don't become paranoid, it's something else. Stand guard, see. Open your heart, and thus open your eye. Be vulnerable, and see how the dark force hurts. Hurts the heart, hurts your energy, your body, your consciousness. On all levels of existence, the dark force hurts and tries to control you, to overpower you. That's why I just said. And it sounds strange. Maybe I will write something about it. But that's for now. Speak a little about it. On all the levels of existence, you need this shit out, the dark side of the coin. You have the physical, that's the only known shitting out, the physical shit that comes out. But if you go deep into things, you see that every level has its own shit.
Mental shit, emotional shit,
Heartless shit, unconsciousness. You can be aware of all these things, and the moment you detect them, the other side that people don't want to associate with, usually, unless you're more brave. This has to be shaded out also, and you do it by consciousness, by being aware of the other side. Else you stay stuck with it, and in principle it gets worse and worse. And that's what you see often with people getting older. That doesn't mean in itself that you get in a worse and worse state. There are a few exceptions here and there where old people are beautiful. In the West, not so easy to find maybe, but they exist. Because what happens is that you gather more and more of the other side that stays undetected because you don't want to acknowledge it. And it eats you. In the end you're a living corpse. You can still walk if you're lucky, but you're more and more cramped. You cannot think freely out of the box anymore, if ever you manage. And then you crumble down in an old granny or grandpa. We must stand up against this dark force and fight. Fight in return. Everybody can fight. And you must first see that there's no other way than fighting it. It's not enough to be peaceful. You must always be at both sides simultaneously. You must be peaceful and fight. Else you get overrun. Even by your own children you can be overrun if you don't fight in return as a parent. And this is all natural. You can just see it in your daily life. Hey! So life is a constant cleaning process. With the whole Corona show currently, this is much enhanced, this process. All the time we need to clean ourselves from the attacks of the dark force. By seeing it, this is always the core. The first thing to do is see, feel. Usually I use these two words simultaneously, see, feel. In the end there's no difference. Well, at least in the ultimate case when men and women are united in one, you cannot distinguish between feeling and seeing anymore. But maybe this is not a subject for now. Even though in the past I always came back to man and woman, sooner or later, usually sooner, after a few sentences, I was already there. Nowadays, last year I managed to postpone it longer. But even now I can come back to the subject. I talked already for years about how society tries to separate man and woman, how it is anti-love, anti-heart, and for many people it's not easy to see. What about Valentine's Day, you could state, ask. And all the forms. There are forms of love, but that's not love itself. The forms are not love. society has the inherent tendency to make everybody part of the economy of production and consumption. So only if love, or what is supposed to be love, raises money, if it can be monetized, then it's interesting for the let's say the defenders of the system. But it's not love. You can never capture love in a system. And in fact, the dark force is constantly busy killing love. It's like constantly an answer is required. Call it indeed a fight in return. But as I also wrote quite a few times about, the fight in return is not the same as how they fight you, your heart. It's not a level of fight. It's a fight with consciousness. In the first place, not the only place. They attack you with something of the, as David Icke called it, something of the world of the five senses. And what you do is, your answer is something of another world, the world of consciousness. Which doesn't mean it has a relationship to this world of the five senses. It has. It's even more powerful in the end. But only if you activate it or let it be activated, if you don't resist it, and if you are ready to see, to open your eye, open your heart. Only then it appears to be limitlessly more powerful. So that means that, considering the fact that on Earth the dark force rules, and it's quite active this moment, combined with what I just said, that in principle, if you let it be activated, the conscious force is stronger than this dark force. This means that people are asleep here on Earth. They have no open eye. They're not conscious. And that's why the dark force can still rule. If people would open their eye, they call it third eye. The dark force is, as nothing else, afraid of this force of consciousness. That's why I said, these people who rule the world nowadays, they're super rich, they should look me in the eye. And then we have a fair battle. And I'm not afraid of them. I can feel now already saying this, that they start to fight me. Try to get me out again now. Try to get the consciousness out. Seems they don't like the way I talk. I say they. It's a force through them. Of course, these people are not physically here, but they are here. If you tune to them, they are here. They can fight. They do fight. I can feel even the energy in the room now. That they're here. it's like this white, how do you call it, which we sometimes saw in the woods, when it gets shadowy, the orbs. But sometimes you see this white kind of bit in the direction of foggy. It's not really fog, but it's much more subtle. Then you see the presence of something that is there.
Like a mist,
And when you talk about something, about certain people or forces, then you call it. I mean, we're connected. The separating people will deny it, but we're connected. This fight will always go on. I think many people believe that there can be a winner. If you really go down into reality, you see there's no winner. Because these forces, the light and the dark, they form reality together. So how can we get rid of one part of reality? That's what they try, but they cannot manage. It's a hopeless fight. And still it has to be fought. Oh. In principle, you can see through all their games. If you have a deeper view, deeper eye here on Earth. Not necessarily all their games they display on Earth, although you can also get quite far with that, I must say. And sooner or later their tricks and crimes will be revealed to a substantial extent. Not everything, unfortunately. Hey. And I feel the fight on different levels. Well, it's quite getting if you're ready for it, open for it, and then it's happening already. When it gets too bad, this dark force gets too much in, because you invite it, but you're not afraid. At a certain point you must, like I've often do, worm it out again. Contract your whole body. Squeeze it into one point.
I feel like
Ah! Like with anger. Many people don't know about emotions. Emotions like anger, also crying, is all related to going to one point, squeezing your energy into one point so that you can release the darkness that I just talked about. On every level, this shit needs to come out. And I say you better do it consciously, this process. Else you are a play ball of these forces. A plaything, I mean. It's not that otherwise, if you are conscious of it, that you're in control, that's something else. But still, yeah. If you follow the process consciously, the fight between the light and the dark, you're at the same time above it, and you're superior. Which I don't mean in an arrogant way, but you see that you're also beyond this fight. You must not, in the best case, lose that place. The connection to that place. You're in the fight, you must play your part in it, and you're also beyond the fight. As soon as you choose for one place, you're lost in that one place. Freedom is never choosing, but seeing the whole drama happening. While being active at the same time. You have your role to play. And the seeing of it, the role of yourself and the others, is de-slaving you. You must not become your role. Everything that you become, that you surrendered your freedom of no choice into, is pleasing the dark force. Everything that gets stuck becomes dark. They don't see the other side anymore. The freedom beyond. People nowadays, the ones in power, they've become so arrogant, so terribly self-satisfied. They play with people, but what they don't realize is that if you suppress something more and more, which is unnatural, sooner or later, Jang! Whether in the form of revolution or in another form, it will erupt again. This is nature. These are forces at work. The ones in power now think they're in the winning mood. They think they can so easily, it seems so indeed, control people, manipulate people, enslave them, humiliate them to an extent that it has hardly ever before happened in human history, if ever. People are truly humiliated, and they accept it, at least a big part. And the ones in power are surprised. Wow, how easily it goes, suddenly. They didn't expect that. And they really got a taste of it, and they do more and more. They already promise every week, every press conference and whenever, they promise that you still have to hold on for the end and later you'll be free again. And people still buy that somehow after a year. It's incredible. So the ones in power must not be surprised if suddenly the dark force that they impose on people, if suddenly as a reflection mechanism it turns back into themselves, onto themselves. They can hope that they're going to get a full load, a full blow at once, because it might be dangerous for them. But we don't know how it will go. But that they will get away with it, that's not very likely. People should wake up to the fact that the rich, the elite, the ones in power, don't give a peanut for human life, let alone animals' lives. This is one of the most important things to learn as humanity, to no longer project your own feeling that you feel inside yourself onto the powerful, the ones in control, who seem to be in control. Because here we go wrong. They're not like you think they are. Not saying that we must totally dehumanize them. Until, of course, they're going through a similar process that many people who are not in power also go through. Getting darkened or deafened in their heart. Still, it's not for nothing that they climb up the ladder and end up in powerful positions. As I said before, there's some pre-selection of people who are at all interested in ruling over other people and controlling them. This is already a sign of mental illness or heart illness, a lack of freedom. Apparently you feel controlled by parents or system, whatever, teachers. And you later in your life want to control others in turn. Almost as an automatic reaction to that. If you feel free yourself, you cannot do this. You cannot control other people. You don't have any incentive to do this. It just doesn't come up in you. You even have to think about it. What do you mean? Controlling other people?
Yeah.
Say to other people that they have to stay in their houses. Say to other people that they have to wear a mask. You would laugh about it if you hear something like this for the first time.
It's totally sick.
It's absurd. But it's true, the ones in power are very clever. They introduce all these killing mechanisms one by one. So that people get used to it and they already expect the next one. Maybe do some games with it, guessing what's the next procedure, next measure. It's all totally anti-nature. And one of the things why it's so easy for them to manipulate people now is that we have gone too far from nature as humanity. So we're being gradually prepared for these kind of measurements and slavery. If people have contact with nature, you cannot enslave them. They naturally protest if you lock them up or this or that. All the anti-nature measures. So if people get more and more in touch with technology, and surely with computers, then the whole thing is accelerated. Then you learn more and more virtual reality and you forget about real life. Also television plays a role in that and all this kind of media. And then it gets dangerous. These people who live in a virtual reality, if you give them some place of power, that they can control other people. When they are not here, they don't know what they're doing. I mean, this is extremely dangerous. And that's exactly what happens nowadays. People who have no contact with reality are ruling the show, dictators. So you must recognize this and take away their power. Take the toys from the boys, because obviously they cannot handle it. They're not responsible. They really don't know what they're doing. They're not here. Even if some of them have children, that in itself doesn't make them human. They can still be in their virtual reality. So if you can expect them to wake up, there's only one solution, which is obvious. And other people should wake up and see that they are not waking up, and take away their power and money, wealth, their controlling systems. Take the toys from the boys.
Yeah.
Burn their masts down. The masts to control you. Call them 5G.
Every corporation needs to be changed into cooperative. Imagine that every worker from, for example, Amazon has this one vote. Every worker from down to top. They are all equal then. There's one vote into the whatever.
Sure. Bezos is just one person.
Yeah. He's just one person.
It's totally criminally absurd that one guy rules over millions of people, his workers, his slaves. That people accept such a system.
Yeah, this is
it tells a lot about the state of humanity, its state of consciousness.
Same for Facebook, Google, etc. All these giant techno. Well,
The thing is, if people accept one thing and they go for the next and the next and the next, the whole system is deranged. It's non-human. I mean, immediately if something is obviously wrong, not human, if it serves a system instead of, or even a few persons at the top instead of the community, then people immediately must stand up and not wait until maybe it gets better, or let's see if the neighbor also stands up, or we must become much more active in fighting the whole show of a few people at the top, and no longer respect these people. They don't deserve any respect. They have played away their respect. So as I wrote, we must work on two fronts, in the inner world and the outer world. Really, one of them is not enough. You must really be active on both sides. Some people maybe have more qualities at one side, other people at the other side. I'm not against some form of specialization, but at least we must unite and recognize both sides to be crucial. The real work happens on consciousness level. What I do, for example, in my... I hope there are more examples in my body, with my heart fighting with the dark force. On a deeper level, this is the relevant way. In the meantime, the outer resistance is also of crucial importance, because in the meantime they kill everybody or weaken you. It also affects our spiritual being. So the outer resistance is very important. We should stand up, so we can have this inner fight at all, the inner struggle to develop spiritually, consciously. Otherwise the dark force just takes over and there's nothing to do innerly anymore. We need a body for that.
Yeah.
We must be serious about this. The body is important. And not become cyborgs or techno-humans. Get the shit out. every level of existence, and does have space to see the truth and to spread the truth, to fight more determined, more focused, seeing which people more, or even much more than others, represent, embody the dark force. Of course, it doesn't come just out of the blue, certainly this last year. It's just everything is so enhanced, certainly. It's becoming more clear. But if from where we are now, look back, it's easy to see it was always there. But we were not so busy with it. Our life seemed to be going well, or at least not too bad, if you like. And now suddenly the repression is so severe that you're forced to face the dark force finally directly in the eye. Who is our enemy? Who is doing this to us? What is this? Why and how and when did it start, and will it go on like this? Should you stand up? It's much more urgent suddenly. And that's good. We cannot say no, we cannot withdraw. We are triggered, we are challenged. We have to respond. It's always the ego. If it bugs you, if it weakens you, tries to kill you, challenges you in whatever way, you're forced to respond. You cannot say, I'm sorry, I'm busy with something else. It has this force, this power to cause a reaction. And you can use it for your growth, for our growth as humanity. If we take up the challenge, if you say no to it, if we let ourselves be enslaved, then it's a lost opportunity. In the best case. In the worst case, it's a hell that you don't come out anymore. So let's see how far the resilience in people is. The sense, the heart. Before we go to sleep, we wake up. Samyama.